Again, good evening everyone. Welcome to the residence of the German ambassador. We have 5 honorable guests. We will have 5 statements of each and every one of them. We had to set up an order, so we will start with Honorable Svenja Schulze, Minister for Development and Cooperation.
Thank you very much. We're here today and have very, very good discussions with the Prime Minister, with ministers here. We have a long-standing partnership with Ghana in West Africa. Ghana is really a pillar of stability. So beyond the reason our shared foreign policy was also expressed by the fact that we both clearly condemn Russia's war of aggression against Ukraine, and it was really good to hear that tomorrow in the morning, and also on the Munich Security Conference on the last weekend. And we are here, and I am here now to assure Ghana of Germany's support. Together we are working to improve local people's lives through more value, in addition with good working conditions and fair wages, without harming the environment. We discussed about Germany's new act on corporate due diligence in supply chain, that we want this act does not create any new barriers for this. It requires companies to comply with existing legislation and protect human rights, and the standards which the companies have to apply are internationally agreed standards. Delivering on them is a joint effort, and jointly we want to achieve progress for people and for enterprises here in Ghana. And it is really important to me that the rules are applied on the ground and help those for whom they were made, the people at the beginning of the supply chain, for instance here in Ghana. And in this context, it is especially important to strengthen children's and women's rights, and that is what we discussed here today.
Thank you. Great. Next one up, Honorable Hubertus Heil, Minister for Employment and Social Policy from Germany.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is for us an important journey. Svenja Schulze and I are a member of the German government. She's responsible for development, I'm responsible for labor, and I'm very proud that the ILO General Director is with us, and we have the opportunity to talk to important members of the government here in Ghana. We had already a meeting with the President, and we had the pleasure to meet our colleagues, the ministers for gender and child and social protection, and the minister for trade and development, and we will meet also my colleague, the minister of labor. The issues are quite clear. Svenja Schulze mentioned it. It's very important for us that we have the same values between Ghana and Germany. We are both democracies, and we are both very important economic partners. And we said thank you to the President and to the government that Ghana is on the right side of history against the Russian aggression against the Ukraine. This was a clear line from the history of Ghana that this government stands in the world for peace and the rule of laws. This is was also a topic between your President and the German Chancellor via the Munich Security Conference. Secondly, we are talking about decent work and human rights in economic value chains or supply chains. And we had a very intensive dialogue about how to find a way to fight especially child work. And I think we have to be, everyone has to be responsibility on this. The governments and also the business sector. We talked about the German due diligence law, which is since the 1st of January, a due diligence law for German companies in global supply chains to take care for human rights. And we heard a lot of the initiatives by your government fighting child work, especially on the education sector, to send people, children to school and not on the farms and the companies. This is a process, and we are working together for progress, for decent work and also for social protection. This is very important in a globalized economy because a lot of products in Ghana are produced for the European or the German market, especially on the question of cocoa. We talked about a joint initiative between Svenja Schulze's department, who did a lot of work with the GEZ, German Development Organization, to support better conditions between your government and our partners from the ILO. And I'm very proud that the General Director is with us. The second issue we want to talk in the next days here in Ghana is a question about fair migration. And fair migration in this case means the question of triple win. We have to talk about the countries of origin, the countries which are destinations for migration, and also the situation about the migrants. And that's why we are visiting a special center here in Ghana, talking about fair migration. This is a sensitive issue because we don't want to have brain drain between countries, but we want to have fair migration and a win-win-win situation for the countries and the people who are involved for legal kinds of integration. Last but not least, once again, Ghana and Germany are very close allies and partners, and we know that Ghana plays an important role in development as a voice of Africa, like your president was on the Munich Security Conference. And by the way, we talked about African countries joining common market ideas on the trade, and we are all fans of free trade. But we agree that free trade has to be fair trade. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I kindly ask Honorable Gilbert Ongo, General Director of the International Labour Organization, to take the floor.
Thank you so much. I don't have that much to add. I think the two honorable ministers have summed up very clearly the gist of our deliberations on this afternoon. Just mentioning from ILO perspective, we are somehow at the crossroads between our doing effective and very intensive cooperation with the Federal Republic of Germany, and that has been going on for many years. Germany being one of our key member states in ILO and our key supporters in development cooperation. Then on the flip side, we have also a dynamic portfolio in terms of our ongoing projects in Ghana, including matters related to the supply chain, related to the ongoing improvement of the situation of Convention 182 on child labor. Then we look at it, how do we bring that to fruition? How do we bring that to a concrete action and result-oriented mindset? So this is why we want to avail ILO's expertise to both the involved ministries here, not only Minister of Trade, Gender and Childhood, or Minister of Labor, Minister of Agriculture, and so forth. And also, I'm sure the colleagues from the government of Germany through their embassy here will also be willing to associate that. All of it together can put together an action plan that will help and to borrow one of the expressions that was used earlier today is not to scale back trade, but how to really, in fact, push up trade and make it of a better quality, because we need the supply chain to move our people out of the out of poverty, as we desperately need if we were to achieve the Agenda 2030. One word on the fair migration, which is quite very important in a case like Ghana, where we do know that Ghana does have expertise locally in different sector, and we also know that as we stand, the total annual remittances by the Ghanaian diaspora is quite very, very important, higher than the official development assistant. And therefore, we also have the international guidelines on fair migration, and that should help all of us to achieve what the minister called the triple win. And I look at that also from ILO perspective very, very positively. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. I kindly ask Honorable Svenja.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Honorable
Very well.
Minister for Gender,
Children and Social Protection. I'm very pleased to be today. I think we started this journey in the afternoon with the President, and then here we are. The Ministry of Gender, Children and Social Protection have done a lot with child trafficking. I want to talk about the child trafficking, what we have done so far. The Ministry, for the past 2-3 years, have been able to prosecute people who are trafficking their own children. We have couples in jail now, mother and father being jailed because they traffic their own child. So 21 have been prosecuted, and then they are at the different stages of the trial. We actually have done a lot of sensitization to the public, to schools, law enforcement agencies. We have trained immigration officers. We have even trained the crew at the airport. We have trained airport security to look out for those who traffic children. At least there are some signs that if you see somebody, watch out. You see one at the airport, you see suspicious character, then you try to report them, and early intervention can be given. We zoom down to the communities where we educate parents on the need to people who come to them with sweet talks and all those things to give their children to them. They should do a background check and all those things. We have done all, and we have trained the children themselves, educate them in schools. So if you hear something, say something. So if you hear that your colleague is not in school for 2 days, what is happening? You need to raise an alarm, and then we have some designated teachers who will go and find out what is the problem. If maybe the child is given to somebody, you can trace and then get the child back. So with gender, we have done a lot, and we are still doing. And then with social protection, I'm happy to tell you that the government is doing LEAP. That's Livelihood Empowerment Against Poverty, which the government is a cash transfer. The government gives money to 65 and above, and also widows with some number of children that they find difficult to. And the government is being paid. And I'm happy to inform you that we don't have outstanding, we are paid. So 81 and 82 circling. That's what the government has, the Ghana government. So we have done a lot in that. And some of the women, even we are doing assessment to wean them out of the poverty line, because some of them have graduated. With the money that we give them, they have set up their own businesses. So they can now be on their own. So we are graduating, and we have started the pilot process to do the reassessment and all this. And then here today, the meeting actually, we have to draw the thin line, as he said. What is the thin line between child labor? You know, so as myself and my brother argued that he did some work with his father, that wasn't child labor, that was his own father. We all, our brothers here, know that at a point in life, within your family, there's certain jobs that you do, which is your family jobs that they do. So you assist them in all those things. So we have to sit down and then draw the thin line, what is actually child labor in its context. So we'll start from here. We'll do a joint meetings with the ambassador and his team here, and then get the thin line and get a very good working document for Ghana and Germany to lean on. I just want to thank you for the support that you have been giving to the ministry, and then we wish you best day in Ghana. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Last but not least, Sarah Abidinapur, Acting Minister of Trade and Industry.
So our friend from Germany, good evening. I hope I got it correct. Good evening.
Thank you.
And to also say that I want to first of all associate myself with the sentiments expressed by my colleagues, the German Minister for Development and the German Minister for Labor, the Director General for the International Labour Organization, and my senior colleague in government, the Minister for Gender, and to associate myself, and to say how very happy we are to have had this very fruitful and productive engagement with the two ministers from Germany. As you know, the Republic of Ghana and the Federal Republic of Germany have a long-standing relation, very strong bilateral relation, both historically and contemporarily. Our President Akufo-Addo, since he's been president of this country, been a strong friend of the German government and German people. He's been to Germany several times, as the minister rightly pointed out. Just 3 or 4 days ago, he was at the Munich Security Conference, and he made a very strong showing there. And it's not difficult to understand why Ghana and Germany are have such strong bilateral relations. It is essentially because our two countries are both democratic countries, and we believe in the same set of values: democratic accountability, individual human rights and liberties, the principles of rule of law, free society, free media. These are the guiding principles which animate the democracy of Ghana and Germany. So we're very strong. And so the discussions we had this evening were very smooth, and it was very easy for us to agree rather than disagree, because our countries stand on similar pillars, which is why on all the international big issues, as the German Minister for Labour is rightly pointed out, Ghana stood shoulder to shoulder with Germany and to the free world, if you want. The substantive matter which is brought up here this evening, I think that there's a sense of commonality between our side and the German government, and we're going to work very closely together. Also in the context of the Ghanaian cultural arrangement and how we're going to have partnership, collaboration, and capacity building and strengthening capacity of the Ghanaian governmental apparatus and machinery, so that the issues of due diligence, corporate due diligence, so we can have sustainable supply chains in Ghana, we can have traceability, we can have companies and the private sector respecting human rights and all of that. I should point out in conclusion that there were 1 or 2 issues which came up which I find very impressive. And indeed it came from the German side, and the issue of the value chain as well, as a tool or a lever or a catalyst for ensuring sustainable global supply chain. I mean, I'll give you an example. We're using cocoa as a case study. The global value chain of the cocoa industry stands at some 113 billion United States dollars. Ghana and Cote d'Ivoire are responsible for 60% of the global supply chain of cocoa. Ghana and Cote d'Ivoire together supply 60% of the raw material for the global value chain of cocoa. And yet, Ghana and Cote d'Ivoire is responsible for just 6 billion US dollars of the 113 billion US dollars. And it tells you that if you don't amplify, if you don't ramp up, or if you don't promote and bring Ghana and Cote d'Ivoire and where the supply takes place to a certain appreciable level of the value chain, a lot of the rhetoric, a lot of the principles, a lot of the theory, a lot of the admonishment for sustainable supply chain and so will not resonate. I mean, it will be just difficult because farmers are not earning enough, and therefore they want to have their children to support in this and in that. But if farmers are earning enough and earning a good part of the value chain, it becomes very easy to insist that you keep to the sustainable principles and so on and so forth. But let me just conclude by saying that Ghana is fully committed to working with the Federal Republic of Germany in building a sustainable supply chain here in Ghana. And as my colleague minister said, the government of President Akufo-Addo has done a lot already to keep children in school. We have had a situation where the government is taking the fees of school-going children from kindergarten to senior high school before college. The government is taking it upon itself. The government is even contemplating legislating to criminalize and penalize parents who do not take their children to school. So that commitment is there. The government is making the efforts already. And we are fully committed to work with our colleagues, to work with the German government, to set up and put together a framework which will ensure that we build here in Ghana, in Germany, and across the world, a sustainable supply chain which is responsible, which is adheres to the principles of traceability and the rest. So let's welcome our friends. My friends say they're leaving on Wednesday, but we want to keep them here for 2 years. For the rest of the 10 of this gathering.
As you mentioned, we built a cocoa coalition.
Absolutely. We'll do that. Okay. So thank you very much. Thank you.